Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Fairy Tale Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for July 2022. For those of you that don't know, this is a deck from the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. It was actually from a filler part of the series that focused on using a bunch of different Fairy Tale monsters mixed in with the field spell, the Golden Castle of Stromberg, being a very vital part of the deck, but it really does work well with a lot of the banish support we have in Yu-Gi-Oh! So I figured I'd focus on a pure variant of the Fairy Tale deck mixed in with some of that newer support. So it's, like I said, a big focus deck on the different Fairy Tale monsters, and the overall playstyle is a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the actual Fairy Tale monsters, we run 3 Prinzessin. Now, Golden Castle of Stromberg does banish a good number of the cards in our decks. We want to run a good play set of cards. We at least have better chances and numbers of seeing the particular ones we need. When this card is normal or special summon, you can special summon 1 Pumpkin Carriage from your hand or deck. If Golden Castle of Stromberg is in the field zone, you can equip 1 Glass Slippers from your deck to this card. You can only use this effect of Prinzessin once per turn, and when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by a direct attack, you can target 1 Glass Slippers equipped to the card and 1 face-up monster on the field and equip the Glass Slippers to that target. So if I remember correctly, in the anime, she threw the Glass Slippers at the monster, which I found very, very funny, but it's great for the setup, giving you a Pumpkin Carriage and also the Glass Slippers. Just take 2 cards out of the deck that much easily by just having the Golden Castle of Stromberg on the field, even giving you 2 monsters for resource to go into a Link monster if need be. I also run 3 Hextrude. I don't know if it's like the evil godmother of the deck or, scary godmother. But with this card, if Golden Castle of Stromberg is in the field zone, you can normal summon this card without tributing. Once per turn, if Golden Castle of Stromberg is in the field zone, you can target 1 card on the field except this one and destroy it. And if you do, this card can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during the battle phase. And when this card destroys a monster by battle, you can target 1 face-up monster you control, and it gains 400 attack. More of an option for the direct attacks or any of your other Fairy Tale monsters you may have. But also just being able to special summon this card off of Golden Castle of Stromberg makes it a very powerful target just to get out onto the field to make use of against your opponents. And I also run 3 Glyph, the Phantom Bird. This is your searcher in the deck. You can discard this card to add 1 Golden Castle of Stromberg from your deck to your hand. And if this card is normal or special summon, you can target 1 card in your opponent's spell and trap card zone and destroy it. You can only use this effect of Glyph, the Phantom Bird, once per turn. So you have your searcher, you have a spell and trap destruction option if need be to use with your field spell. So all very, very strong plays in the deck, having a special summon card, a destruction option and for, the monsters, and then the spell and trap one with this card. I also run 3 Pumpkin Carriage. Like I said, we run 3 ofs for a good number of the Fairy Tale cards, just with all of them being very, very important for the play. So if you were to banish a good number of them off of the Golden Castle of Stromberg, you'll miss out on that particular play. With your Pumpkin Carriage, Prinzessin you control can attack directly. Your opponent cannot target Golden Castle of Stromberg you control with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. Can you imagine if a field spell could be destroyed by battle? With the Pumpkin Carriage, though, Golden Castle of Stromberg protects your monsters on the field, so just being able to protect your own castle along with your carriage on the field is a vital part of the protection play, and just more of a setup to go for Prinzessin's main option of equipping her Glass Slippers onto another one of your opponent's monsters. And for more of a, I would say, rank 4 Xyz play option, I run 3 Iron Hans. If this card is summoned, you can special summon 1 Iron Knight from your deck. Also, if Golden Castle of Stromberg is not in the field zone when this effect resolves, you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of this turn. You can only use this effect of Iron Hans once per turn. It gains 1,000 attack for each Iron Knight you control, and only while Golden Castle of Stromberg is in the field zone. So you have your Iron Knight, which is also a level 4 monster. Just being able to special summon this card out, like I said, gives you options for rank 4 Xyz plays in the deck. And Iron Knight also loses 1,000 attack while you control Iron Hans, so you really are tempted to go for the Xyz play using this card, being a better option with it as a monster on the field. And also, if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can add 1 Iron Hans from your deck to your hand. Or if Golden Castle of Stromberg is in the field zone, you can add 1 Warrior monster from your deck to your hand instead. So you do have a Warrior monster search. You don't use it as often in the deck for a lot of your plays, since your Prinzessin and Hextrude are a fairy and spellcaster type monster, but still a good option just to search out a Iron Hans and continue the special summon cycle. For more of the generic monsters that I also run in the main deck, I run 3 Grand Maju. The attack and defense of this card becomes the number of your cards banished times 400. So the more cards you banish off of Golden Castle Stromberg, the stronger your Grand Maju will become, making it so if you resolve 2 banish of Golden Castle Stromberg, this card can be a pretty big powerhouse on the field. And that's why I like to run 3 of it, so you just have a better option and odds of seeing this card pop up. For more of the recycle play, because a lot of times with this deck I do lose when I just run out of cards. For the banish for Golden Castle Stromberg, the card will destroy itself before you deck out, but you're still down a good number of cards. So with this card, I believe it did recently come off of the ban list to 3, but 3 Necroface. If this card is normal summon, shuffle all banished cards into the deck. This card gains 100 attack for each card shuffled into the main deck by this effect, and if this card is banished, each player banishes 5 cards from the top of their deck for their graveyard sent for their turn, or less than 5 if it is the entire deck. So with the option for this card, it's just a great play for the setup and recycle using this card with a deck that banishes 10 cards from the top of your deck each and every turn. And lastly, for more of a powerhouse play along with the extra deck, I run 3 Eater of Millions, more of a banish option using our extra deck, but it can also add to the power up of cards like Grand Maju on the field. So just more of a 3 of and another solution answer to get over some particular cards your opponent may have. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. One of the most important spells in the deck is Golden Castle of Stromberg. Once per turn during your standby phase, you must banish 10 cards from the top of your deck, face down. This is not optional, or this card is destroyed. And during your main phase, you can special summon 1 monster from your deck that specifically lists this card, Golden Castle of Stromberg, in its text. You cannot normal summon or set the turn you activate this effect, even if this card leaves the field. And you can only use this effect of Golden Castle of Stromberg once per turn. And when an opponent's monster declares an attack, destroy the attacking monster. And if you do inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the attack of that monster on the field. So this is your protection for some of your weaker monsters you may have in the deck, like your Pumpkin Carriage or your Princessin, as long as you have Stromberg and also Pumpkin Carriage on the field. That is your protection, protecting the field spell from card effects, and then the castle protects your monsters on the field. And it pretty much takes up your normal summon with the special summon, but once again, you can get out a good number of different boss monsters using this play. So it's really not much of a problem in the deck going for the specific monster you want. The biggest thing is you have to get Golden Castle Stromberg as quickly as you can into the field zone. And that's why running search cards like Glyph and then other ones, which we'll get to in just a bit, are very important. I also run 2 Glass Slippers. I know I ran 3 of for a good majority of cards, but if you draw this card, it really doesn't do much. You want to be able to equip it off of your Princessin, so that play comes more down to the fact that you have Golden Castle Stromberg or Princessin set up to summon out your Pumpkin Carriage and then equip your Glass Slippers to this card after Golden Stromberg is on the field. I also run 3 Iron Cage, another option for getting rid of your opponent's monsters. When this card's activated, send 1 monster you control to the graveyard, or if Golden Castle Stromberg is in the field zone, you can send 1 monster your opponent controls to the graveyard instead. And once per turn, during your standby phase, you can target the monster that this card sent to the graveyard by this effect, destroy this card, and special that monster to your field. Giving you a resource of your opponent's can be very, vital, and even take away resources from your opponent, depending on the play they want to go for. I like 3 of this card. It works more for the option of the setup on the field. So a 3 of, I would definitely say, is good for the deck. If you want to try 2 out, you could bump up the number of Pot of Extravagance to 3. I run 2 copies of this card. You don't really draw much in this deck. You mostly just special summon off of each and every monster. Your limitation for Pot of Extravagance is for the rest of the turn, you cannot draw any cards by card effects, but still being able to search and special summon out those cards is still a big part of the deck, but not really drawing into any cards. And then for the 1-ofs for the spells, I run 1 Terraforming, obviously for searching out the Pot of Extravagance, and the 1 Call by the Grave for making sure that you can get your special summon resolved, because if you can't special summon off of the Golden Castle of Stromberg, if your opponent tries to Ash Blossom you, that'll definitely take away from the initial play you were trying to do. With the only trap that I run in the deck being 1 Metaverse, just another way to search out the Golden Castle of Stromberg and either activate it or place it into your hand. So with this card, I would definitely recommend, if you have monsters on the field already, activating the card, but otherwise, if you don't have any monsters set up yet, ready to go, I would add to your hand. Otherwise, Golden Castle Stromberg is going to banish 10 cards from the top of your deck, and you would take out a good number of the cards you may potentially need for one of your plays. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. Since we do run Pot of Extravagance and Eater of Millions, the extra deck is pretty generic. There's not really a lot of Fairy Tale cards in it. So running 2 Nightmare Phoenix and 2 Nightmare Cerberus. So we just have better odds of seeing these cards off of our banishes from Pot of Extravagance and Eater of Millions to see a better chance. One of these Link 2s, which can be pretty important depending on the play we need to go for. 1 Barricade Borg Blocker for the Field Spell Recycle. 1 Win the Wind Charmer Verdant. And 1 Lena the Light Charmer. Also 1 Underclock Taker and 1 IP Masquerena for the rest of the Link monsters. Like I said, generic as you can, so you always have an option readily available to you depending on what you banish off your other spells. And I also run 1 Nightmare Unicorn for the Link 3 option. And for the Link 4 plays, I run 1 Apollosa and 1 Borrelsword Dragon. The Apollosa definitely does pop up a lot with the amount of monsters you can special summon out onto the field using this deck, and just being able to fully use all 4 different monsters for a 4-counter Apollosa. And then for the Xyz monsters, I run 1 Baguska, 1 Abyss Dweller, and 1 Zeus. The Zeus is for overlaying on the Xyz monsters if you get lucky and not see it banished off of your play. Optional, but still happens a lot. You can always put in Tornado Dragon as another rank 4, since it is one of the bigger ones you go into with Iron Knight and Hans. As for some of the go-to plays in the deck, it all revolves around the Golden Castle Stromberg. So just activating this card alone can get you the special summon of what you need if you want to go for a more offensive play against your opponent, or if your opponent has an annoying spell or trap on the field, you'll go for the Hextrude or the Glyph. But being able to just go for the Princess in play, and then the option of special summoning out your Pumpkin Carriage, and then from there equipping on your Glass Slippers gives you the direct attack with the Princessin against your opponent, and then equipping on the Glass Slippers to their own monster with that card when it's sent to the graveyard because the equipped monster is destroyed, being able to target a Princessin you control and re-equip the Glass Slippers as well, and also just having it gain 1000 attack for the direct attack to hit for some pretty big damage is the pretty important part of that play setup. But once again, 3 cards from 1, and then the potential banish means that you'll have some powerhouse monsters to either summon on the field the following turn when you draw into them, or recycle the cards back to at least make sure you have resources to reuse again against your opponents. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. Like I said, I always like updating the Fairy Tales. We haven't really gotten any announcement for some support in the near future, but, you know, every time I do a deck profile, there's always a chance that something will get announced. And if all it took for me to get the Fairy Tale deck was more support, was to do a deck profile for it, I would definitely say it was well worth it. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.